to that as well.
If your daughter gets raped by the guy that gets back out and he's one of the 14%, I don't think you're going to quibble about whether it's 14 or 64. What I'm saying is,
you only say the thing that's going to advance your political cause, if you will. This is bullshit. Deport them. I'm with Rand Paul. Deport them. I still want them deported.
14% of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE in President Trump's first year back in the White House had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses, according to an internal Department of Homeland Security document obtained by CBS News. So isn't all this talk about ridding the country of violent criminals a massive overstatement?
So just in case you guys missed it, she said that only 14% of people deported, 14%, I believe, of the 400,000, I think it is, illegals deported are violent criminals. All right, here we go.
If less than 14%, again, of the 400,000 immigrants being arrested are had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses.
well, I think the facts make a difference. And so that's one of the questions we will ask. And so when you come to Minneapolis, if they have a policy that says, oh, we're not going to turn over from our jails nonviolent prisoners, people who are, I don't know why you're in prison if you're nonviolent, but maybe you have a drug crime that's a nonviolent.
I think there are plenty of nonviolent people in prisons.
But the thing is that's not their policy. Their policy is we will turn no one over. So you can be, you beat somebody half to death, you get an assault charge, and you're in jail for a couple years, and somehow you're getting out on parole, and you're not going to be turned over and you're illegal. I've got a problem with that, and so do probably most independents and Democrats. But that's what we have to ascertain. And the thing is that's not the policy of Mayor Fry. He did not come forward and say, we're not going to turn over nonviolent prisoners. He just simply said, we're not going to cooperate at all. And if you do cooperate, and this is Ellison's edict to them, it's actually against the law for you to cooperate. So if you happen to have a Republican county and a Republican judge who wants to turn over people in jail once their term has expired to be deported, they've actually made that illegal. And so we should have a debate in our country whether that's advisable. And I think most people are in the middle. I think most people actually hate what the use of force that they saw with Alexander Preddy. But I think if you ask them, if a guy's committed rape and he's in prison and he's going to get out, do you want him deported? I think people would say, hell yes, he ought to be deported. But if they're not.
So let's stop right here. I want to get your thoughts on the exchange so far, Shelley.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying so. Okay. So, all right. What Rand Paul is saying, Katie Couric, I think she's trying to play a little sleight of hand here. Mm-hmm. Less than 14. Okay, let's just say 14% of the 400,000, which is about 56,000 violent people have been deported. The other, 450 or 350,000 have not been deported, even though they will be considered violent criminals because the blue places where they are being held are not releasing them to ICE. So you can't count them because they haven't been deported. Technically, they're still behind bars, or worst case, they are released back into the public. So she's just using the basic numbers, but Rand Paul is trying to explain basically if those people were deported and the blue states, the sanctuary cities would allow ICE to come and get them, you would see those numbers, that percentage would go up. This is all they're playing with the numbers. Katie is here. You can't count someone technically if they haven't been deported. It does not mean that they are not violent.
Right. And another thing. All right. That's a very good point you made. But besides all of that, folks, illegal entry is a crime. All right. Now, I understand that President Trump, when he initially came into office, he said, along with Tom Homan, that they were going to go after, not only, but go after the violent criminal illegals. Okay. But above and beyond all of that, overstaying a visa is a violation of federal immigration law. All right. Deportation is a civil enforcement action tied to unlawful presence. These people are here unlawfully. All right. So the idea that only violent criminals should be deported ignores that the entire category involves people who broke immigration law. All right. And if breaking federal law doesn't matter, then goodness gracious, what does? What matters?
Yeah.
This is what I want to know. Let's go
Again,
on. Let's go.
Oh, go ahead. Keep on going. Yeah.
So what about the 14%? Such a low percentage of 400,000 people.
If
Don't you
you're
think people would-
This is what she's talking about. She keeps harping on this 14%. Well, what about how many of those people are drug dealers? How many of those people were caught? Because drug dealing is not a violent offense, right? So you have people who may have been arrested or and they may have records of non-violent offense. All right, what they supposed to stay here? Why do we want you already illegal? Why do we want people who have non-violent offenses here and leeching off of our social services? It makes no sense.
If your daughter gets raped by the guy that gets back out and he's one of the 14%, I don't think you're going to quibble about whether it's 14 or 64. What I'm saying is, if you're not going to,
individuals who are not guilty,
if you're not going to turn over anybody, then that.
This is what she is no
What
better.
did she say? I didn't hear what she said.
Oh, I'll rewind. She's no better than the judge that we talked about yesterday that have that guy's sentence. The jury gave him 65 years. She cuts it in half only and lets him out in 30. What is wrong with these people? And she looks terrible. Oh my God, Katie Couric.
When you stop the Botox, I guess that's what happens. Ugh.
Poor Katie Couric. All those years she had that cute little baby face. Oh my God, now she looked like the baby's bottom. I'm going back up.
Ashy too. She could have put some Vaseline around there or something.
Oh, poor Katie Couric. All right, let's see.
About whether it's 14 or 64. What I'm saying is, if you're not going to,
who are not guilty,
if you're not going to turn over anybody, then that's 0%.
Then what about all those other individuals who are not guilty?
Okay, again, this is going back to their argument about illegals having due process. They are not entitled to a full trial, if you will. They have now, it's been deemed they can have an administrative hearing, I guess. That's a part, but they don't even want that. If they don't want that, they don't want these illegals to be deported, period, no matter what they do. They don't. Again, you can't count people. You can't put them in the numbers. The number's going to be 14% because all the rest of them are behind bars, or many of them are, and they're not being released. They're actually being released, some of them, back to the public to commit more crimes. And not only that, they will tend to probably commit more and more serious crimes. And if they're not working, what do you think they're going to be doing? Because if they're not getting jobs, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to terrorize people, rape, rob, murder, okay, have accidents with the CDL driver's licenses that they shouldn't have. More and more Americans, these people are, Katie and her two daughters will be fine in her little secure home or in their chauffeur-driven, lifestyles, or wherever they may be, over whatever the case may be. These people are incredulous.
Yeah. And so what she's saying is the 14% that they are referring to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, are people who have already been convicted of violent offense.
Some of them have, or some of them are. I guess I would say yes, because ICE has caught them, or caught them, and those are the violent ones who have already been adjudicated. But again, I don't know how
these are ones that were caught. They were caught by police for doing whatever, convicted, and then let back out. Is that right?
Right. They already had records. They already had some kind of record of violent history. They've been caught, whatever way. Maybe in some states they were allowed to pick them up to a small degree. But those are, she's complaining. She's making it seem like President Trump said he's going to go after the violent offenders. Well, he's only gotten 14%. That's not a lot. So then she's saying that all the other people that ICE is going after, they're either non-violent or ICE is picking up the wrong people. Basically, that's what she's saying and or implying.
Okay. Okay. Bottom line is, folks, why is the bar now? You must have committed a violent felony. How did we get here? Why is the bar now? You must have committed a violent felony before the immigration law applies. It's just this is what the Marxist agenda, and I hate to keep folks pushing on that. They try to make simple things complex, because when they become more and more complex, then people feel like, oh, it's just too much. Let's go on what you're saying. It's simple as it can be.
Let me
You're
attempt to answer your question.
illegally. You're not supposed to be here. You need to go back.
Right. I agree, but let me attempt to answer your question. Why is not? Because we've had, again, many administrations go back and forth with this idea of amnesty, leave them here, phase them in, grandfather. So this is why we're here now. Republican and Democratic administrations, amnesty and illegal aliens, should they come in? Should we close the border? Should we not? So this is why we're here. The immigration, laws and rules have been so convoluted, conflated, not enforced. So this is why we're here now.
Yeah. Well, it needs to, I'm glad President Trump is making it clear, okay? Because this is eroding away at our national sovereignty. And this is what the left wants, all right? Every country in the world enforces their borders. Every country. If you are a foreign national and you overstay your visa in Japan, Australia, Canada, you are removed, period. Okay, why are we here in America expected to operate in a different way? It makes no sense. Let's keep going here.
I don't think the percentage, it makes a halfway argument to how much effort we have. But if Minnesota's not going to turn over anybody, the whole argument, whether it's 14 or 86, doesn't mean anything. So if they're not turning over anybody, then inevitably there are many emotional cases. The Laken Riley case of a guy that had been arrested, should have been deported. He was a thug. He was arrested multiple times up in New York. The government paid to send this thug to look for a job in Atlanta. It was almost like, we'll give you a bus ticket so your crime committing person we'll send you to some other state. But to Laken Riley's family, it was a big deal, and it is a big deal to people who care about what happened to her, that if that person had been deported. Now, you might tell me that person's an anomaly. He's only 1 in 100. But up in Laken Riley's family, I don't care if it's 1 in 100. The 1 in 100 people who are violent, if that's a number, or if it's 14 in 100, we want them deported. And look, you're looking at someone who's moderate on this issue. I'm not. I don't appreciate what they're doing. I don't like the crowd control. But I do want violent people who are in prison detained and given over to ICE. And if Minnesota's not doing that, they're part of the problem.
I should point out, Senator Paul, that Laken Riley's father has cautioned lawmakers on both sides of the aisle to refrain from using her death as a political wedge.
Thank you for pointing that out.
See, this is what I hate when the people do this. And I don't care who does it, whatever side. When, first of all, grieving parents, I give them a little bit of grace, okay? I just do. I may not even agree with them. But you're going to point that out. Well, how about point out the fact that I bet you every damn night, Laken Riley's parents and her siblings, friends, loved ones, I bet you they go to bed with tears in their eyes and are heartbroken. You don't mention that, though, do you? You only say the thing that's going to advance your political cause, if you will. This is bullshit. Deport them. I'm with Rand Paul. Deport them. I still want them deported.
Yeah. And these people, they are so wicked. This woman, and you know what? We really have to look at things with a spiritual lens, because a lot of these wicked leftists, they come across as so cutesy nice, and they are like the witch in the woods that Hansel and Gretel met and is offering them cookies. All right. These people are evil. Okay. She's trying to create a false moral hierarchy. All right. So her argument is violent illegals, that's bad. Non-violent illegals, we need to be sympathetic. No, they're all unlawful, okay? Lawful immigrants follow the process. There is a process that is laid out, all right? Millions of people wait, okay, years. They pay a ton of money and they comply to get here legally. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to our system that becomes corroded and defrauded. It's not fair. All right. It's an injustice because these people are doing it the right way. And these illegals are jumping the line, whether they're criminal or not. Do it the right way. Right. Illegal is illegal.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for Black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a Black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.